I want to do a special recording of myself doing my coloring, because I usually only post time lapses, and this just shows my process as I work with my Apple Pencil on the screen, and I think it's pretty cool. I just wanted to share this with my friends. So like I use layers, and that helps me basically color behind the lines, because this layer up here is my line work. As you see, if I hide it, it disappears, but I put the coloring layer behind the line work so I don't overlap the lines. And then I can create different layers to make sure I get the coloring in the right placement so it looks amazing when it's finished. And I can do different layers of color basically, and it ends up looking super awesome in the end. And I'll just continue coloring here. I like to do the skin separate on a separate layer than the rest, because it just ends up looking so much better when you do it that way. This is the first time I've held a phone in my hand while coloring, so it's all about balancing and making sure I stay in the lines, which is something I usually try to do because it just looks neater and cleaner. But I also really do play with smoothing brushes. And you can basically change the size of your brush over here with the brush size portion. You can either make it small or large to fill up spaces quickly, which I love for speed. And so basically I learned to color and do my art by taking like some basics Procreate courses that were offered for free at the Apple Store. And after that, I just kind of experimented and taught myself an art style by watching some of my art friends color. I always recommend watching lots of tutorial videos on learning new skills, especially in art, because they're super helpful. So like I'm getting the flats done right now. And if you ever like accidentally tap where you don't want to, you can just erase it with the eraser tool right here. And so now I'm wearing a black shirt in the reference, so I'm gonna play with making it a different color. I'm thinking of going with blue, this color. See, the skin is about in this area, so usually if you go into, I think it's a good way to combine colors if you do it in sort of a triangle between the different colors. So you do it in, I forget what it's called, but it's just a technique that they teach you in college about what colors go well together. You can either do what, like, as far as like contrasting colors and the color wheel. It's just one of those things I picked up in college, and taking art classes. And so I'm getting the flats done of the shirt. I think this is a nice color. And you know, you don't have to like stick to the reference perfectly. You can play with color. You can tweak your drawing and make any changes. Sometimes I just go with favorite colors, and I like to use favorite colors. Or if I'm doing a portrait of someone else, I like to use their favorite colors because that's a fun thing to do. And don't worry about like if you make mistakes, you can always edit them in digital art, which I love. Because I am a bit of a perfectionist, but I don't expect perfection from myself, but I have that tendency. And so basically you can just tap and hold and get that color that you already placed down. Tap and hold, and then that makes it easier to keep track of what colors you're using and keep them consistent. Okay, I want to tap and hold that because I went outside the line a little bit and I want to get that cleaned up a little bit. And then one thing I like to play with is makeup looks while I'm drawing. So I think I'm going to go for, so I use this color, and it would probably be cool to use, I want to use green lipstick because I am very much about the Sims and pretty Sims obsessed. So I think this reminds me of the loading screen of my favorite game, The Sims 4. And I think that looks awesome. But I like to have darker, I like to basically, let's make that brush size a little bit smaller. I like to make shading on the upper lip because it overhangs the lower lip. And I think it's a nice effect. My hair is brown, so I want to make my hair brown. I like having brown hair. I think it suits my personality. And so like this is a weird drawing where this is basically my mind being blown like it always is whenever I talk to my friends or think about my life. I always feel really mind blown about everything that's happened over the past few years. And I want to be able to illustrate that feeling in my art because a lot of my art's a way to vent my moods and vent my feelings. And so I love making really bold eyebrows because I am non-binary. I like to express a masculine side of myself, even though I have a female body. And so I always, when I draw myself, make my eyebrows look really thick and bold for that masculine effect. And I'm going to do something fun with the eyes. They're just going to be white, like a black and white spiraling shape. Because I've always loved spiraling shapes, and that's one of the reasons I like to draw Pipsies so much, is because of this. And so we've got this funny effect with this cartoon. I love this one, and that's why I wanted to show you myself drawing this. because I use it frequently. And trust me, it's always pretty mind-blowing what happens on a daily basis to me, because it's also such a spectacle at times. And it's something I'm getting used to, but it's common for me to feel this way with it, having made the friends I've made, and with everything I do on a daily basis. And so I basically gave myself white frames, and that's one of my signature style things. Either white or black frames. I think I've built that kind of reputation in my art. So I'm going to do some shading and highlighting of my skin. I use kind of a red pinky tone for my skin, but a little bit on the pale side, because I like, conveying that I'm a vampire in my comics. And so you can if you use it on the grayer side of the color, it gives more of a pale vampire look of whatever color you use and whatever amount of melanin is in the skin. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to use this for shadows. I have a go-to way I do shading, which is shape the nose with it. Maybe gonna thicken up that line and do some neck and chin shadows. It's good to put shadows around the eyes because that's a more inset part of the face. I always have eye bags, and I love having eye bags because it shows how much of a night person I am. I'm actually really proud of it because I think better at night. And I'm kind of into the horror scene. I was very grunge when I was younger. Very goth. I'm still goth. And so I like to give myself extra goth looks. And I think that looks excellent. And you can usually just go with, if you're not looking at a reference picture, I just kind of memorize the shape of the face and place the shadows accordingly. And I learned a lot of this from watching and studying cartoons and how they do it and memorizing that. So research is always good for art. So I'm going to do highlights and basically just going to put the color selector towards the light area and no, it's too dark. Maybe I want to use actual white because this is pretty pale in the first place. So I like to do a little highlight on the nose because I think it's super cute, and that's all I'm going to do with that. And I'm going to use the smudge tool, which is this finger tool right here, to smooth out the shadows and give it more of a gradient look, so it's not as harsh a line. And you know, this is just really me showing a sample of some coloring tips. You can use them if you want or not. I'm going to tap and hold the color on the shirt, and I'm going to give it some highlights here, here, and then I'm going to do some shadows here, and then I'm going to use the smudge tool and smooth everything out. And this is just showing you some basics of digital art tips that I commonly use for my work. I'm gonna brighten up the hair, maybe put some more colorful streaks in it as highlights, a little bit more bold. I like a little bit, I've always kind of desired to be a redhead, and so I put a little bit of orange in my brown for that reason. I think it makes it cooler to have multiple colors. I'm going to smooth out these eyeshadows. And these nose shadows. And I think this is as much as I want to record on video and talk about my process.